The focus of this webinar is social emotional learning as a school climate improvement tool. My name is Dr. Stacy Molnar-Main. I'm a consultant with the Pennsylvania Department of Education. My responsibilities focus on the Pennsylvania School Climate Improvement Initiative, as well as social emotional learning. This webinar will focus on providing a definition of social emotional learning, the rationale for addressing social emotional learning in schools, and provide information about the steps that a school should take to begin to identify social emotional learning strategies and implement social and emotional learning programs. The Collaborative for Academic Social Emotional Learning has defined social emotional learning as the process through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. There are 5 domains of social emotional learning that CASEL recognizes. They include self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, social awareness, and relationship skills. Research suggests that these are developed in the context of homes and communities, through school experiences and the school climate, and in classrooms through SEL curricula and instruction. The Pennsylvania School Climate Survey includes social emotional learning as one of its 4 domains. The types of questions that the School Climate Survey includes to assess social emotional learning are provided here on this slide. These are questions that are drawn from the high school edition of the Pennsylvania School Climate Survey, student edition. The survey asked students to indicate the extent to which the following statements are true, or whether they define or describe students in their school. Do students in the school stop and think before doing anything when they get angry? Do they do their share of work when they have group projects? Do they give up when they can't solve problems easily? Do they get into arguments when they disagree with people? Do they do their best when their schoolwork is difficult? Or do they say mean things to other students when they think other students deserve it? And finally, do they think it's okay to cheat if other students are cheating? If you take a look at the domains of the SEL as defined by CASEL, you'll see that these different statements map onto different skills. For example, getting into arguments when you disagree with people is really a relationship skill. Students give up easily when they can't solve problems is related to self-management and self-awareness, and may even have some relationship to responsible decision-making. So you can see that many of these actually tap into one or more of the domains that CASEL has identified. So why does SEL matter? That's the question of the day. And so I provided 4 bullet points here that provide the overall rationale for addressing social emotional learning in schools. An extensive body of rigorous research exists which demonstrate that education that promotes social emotional learning gets results, and that teachers in all academic areas can effectively teach SEL. These findings come from multiple fields and multiple sources. For example, one meta-analysis of 213 studies involving more than 270,000 students found that those students who participated in evidence-based social emotional learning programs showed an 11 percentile point gain in academic achievement compared to students that did not participate in SEL programs. In addition, students who participated in SEL programs compared to those who did not showed improved classroom behavior and increased ability to manage stress and depression and better attitudes about themselves and others in schools. Another study published in 2015 by the American Journal of Public Health found a statistically significant association between SEL skills in kindergarten and key outcomes for adults later in life. The study concluded that early prosocial skills decrease the likelihood of living or being on a waiting list for public housing, receiving public assistance, having any involvement with the police before adulthood, and ever spending time in a detention facility. Another 2015 report, this one by the American Enterprise Institute and the Brookings Institution, found that SEL competencies are critically important for long-term success in today's economy. The report was developed by a bipartisan group of experts that agreed to set aside their differences and create a detailed plan for reducing poverty and increasing economic mobility. The authors noted that major educational and school reform efforts over the last few decades have not sufficiently focused on SEL factors that are necessary to the education of students and to their later employment and success in family life. And finally, research studies have focused on the role that SEL plays in teacher commitment and job satisfaction. And what they've found is that when a school supports and promotes social emotional learning and teachers feel that they are competent or they have efficacy in delivering social emotional programs, they have a greater commitment to their job and greater job satisfaction. They're also more able to deal with stress associated with student disruptive behavior. So with these important reasons for focusing on SEL, why aren't more schools doing it? Well, of course, as the Brookings Institute study showed us or suggests, that we've spent quite a lot of time focused explicitly on academic outcomes without actually focusing as much effort on the social emotional learning skills that often underline student success in academics, life, and careers. So if we change our focus and begin to include SEL, we have to recognize that there are some other barriers. Inadequate planning and support, insufficient buy-in, poor program fit, and lack of connection to the school mission and culture are some of the most common barriers. When a school begins to select an SEL strategy, they need to spend time making sure that they have the readiness to proceed, that they really understand their students' needs, that they've done a thorough review of the programs that are available and understand which strategies fit best with their school resources, the opportunities that they have in their classroom to deliver the program, and the developmental and cultural features of their students. They need to consider how SEL will integrate with other strategies, and they need to be thinking about sustainability from the beginning. So what does readiness mean? It really means, do faculty and students see a need for SEL? Do they understand how it aligns with their responsibilities and the expectations that already exist? And can they envision an integrated or holistic approach to SEL? A school is not ready if they are only taking a programmed version to SEL. It's really important that they think about this as a holistic effort. One way that they may begin to build readiness is by assessing teachers' readiness for SEL using the SEL belief scale. I'll include a copy of that scale when this webinar is posted alongside. The SEL belief scale addresses teachers' perceptions of their own commitment to SEL, the connection of SEL strategies to the culture of the school and whether there's leadership support for that, and how competent the teachers feel in delivering the selected SEL strategies. It's important that faculty and administrators build a deep understanding of the theory, research, and pedagogy of SEL and avoid rushing to programming. You may have heard that there's a good program happening in another school in your district, or maybe you've read a research review or a journal article that identifies a promising approach. It's really tempting to rush to implementing that program, but it's very important that we do the readiness work so that we can build SEL into the fabric of the school, because that's when we know it works. So we need to think systematically. I like to say we should be dressing the whys before the whats. We need to spend enough time learning about social emotional learning and students' needs that there is no question that we should be focusing on this, that it's as important as academic learning, and that it will support our academic learning goals. Stakeholders need to understand what evidence exists for SEL interventions, how it connects to the mission of the school, how it relates to what we already do, the leadership's commitment, and how teachers will be supported in making the shift to SEL-informed practice. The website for the Collaborative for Academic Social Emotional Learning includes lots of resources and tools that can support schools in beginning these conversations. As you begin to think about selecting the strategies, it's important to think about a multi-pronged effort. It should include evidence-based programs as well as some explicit classroom instruction on skills. Most evidence-based programs provide a mechanism for delivering that explicit instruction, and they are theoretically grounded. You need to consider the ways in which the skills that you are teaching students link to the academic curricula. Is there a way to draw, for example, attention to students that the social skills that they're learning about generating multiple solutions to a problem also relate to the fact that their math teacher is asking them to identify multiple solutions to a math problem? Again, the empathy skills that we're asking students to consider taking another person's perspective and how that person might feel as an SEL strategy, how does that relate to our comprehension of characters' experiences in literature? Schools should consider relationship building strategies. That is, how do we build relationships and positive relationships, student to student to teacher, teacher to teacher, and teacher to parent. And finally, how do we teach conflict resolution, and how do we support students when conflicts become difficult for them to manage on their own? This is where we begin to think about the three-tiered model of support. The best SEL instruction happens when there is a school ecology that is focused on social emotional learning. That does not mean that we have given up our focus on rigorous academic instruction. Indeed, effective SEL supports academic outcomes and can support rigorous learning. But schools that have strong ecologies focused on SEL tend to focus on these 5 areas. That is, that you can identify clearly and explicitly evidence of these 5 different areas in their school. The first is that the school climate articulates specific values and themes that convey the overall sense of purpose for the school. Many schools that have begun down the PBIS route are ahead in this area. They have done a great job of conveying those positive statements or core values or themes that reflect the overall purpose of the school. There should also be explicit instruction that's both developmentally and culturally appropriate on SEL skills. And this needs to be based in an evidence-based or a theoretically grounded model that has a research backing. There should be instruction in ways to address specific health and problems that are relevant to that community or to that age level. This is where we recognize in SEL supporting schools the continuation of drug and alcohol prevention programs, other health promotion programs, violence prevention programs that are carried out separately or as a component of SEL work. There are effective services and systems in place to support to support students that need additional social support in handling transitions, crises, and conflicts. This is Tier 2 and Tier 3 of the three-tier model. And then one thing that is often missing that is important for social emotional learning is opportunities for students to engage in meaningful service to the school and the community. And we recommend service learning as the model that schools implement because it includes reflection. And students are more likely to develop that social awareness and interpersonal awareness, as well as problem-solving skills when they're asked to engage in reflection related to their service. So once readiness has been established, a school will move towards selecting strategies. And this slide is designed to provide you an initial direction for looking for strategies. CASEL has 2 publications that are guides to effective programs, one for the elementary level and one for the middle level. There's an early education resources for early childhood. That would be kindergarten, first, maybe second grade. They're called What Works Briefs, and they're available at this website at Vanderbilt University. And then the final 2 resources focus on secondary youth, the Preparing Youth to Thrive Toolkit and the Power of SEL in Secondary Schools. In addition, Pennsylvania offers some standards or guidelines to help schools craft their SEL programs and identify programs that are aligned with Pennsylvania's framing and understanding of SEL. The first are the PA Keys Learning Standards Continuum. You can find this online looking for PA Keys Learning Standards Continuum. It includes SEL standards for kindergarten, first and second grade. And then in the spring of 2017, Pennsylvania Department of Education will be releasing the Pennsylvania Interpersonal Skills Guidelines. There are many reference books available to support schools in selecting SEL strategies. I've included 4 of my favorite here, and they also are recently released. Everyday SEL, there are 3 different versions, one middle school version, one elementary, and one high school. And this focuses on helping teachers integrate social emotional learning and mindfulness in the classroom. It includes specific examples of classroom practice. In addition, the Social Emotional Learning Handbook, Research and Practice, is really a guidebook. It's sort of a manual for social emotional learning in schools. It's full of a lot of rich and dense information, including very thorough reviews of programs specifically aimed to different grade levels as well as settings. Student Discipline, a Pro-Social Approach by Philip Brown, provides a framework for thinking about student discipline as a teaching process, and he also reviews numerous programs that can help schools move to a pro-social approach to student discipline. And then finally, on Selfie, How Empathetic Kids Succeed in an All About Me World by Michelle Borba would be an excellent resource for a parent book group. It focuses on strategies that can be used in the home to build empathetic kids. The SEL implementation process really aligns with the school climate planning process or strategic planning process in that schools should take time to move from readiness to analysis of data, to planning, to implementing, and to reflecting on their progress. What's critically important, the research suggests, with regard to social emotional learning is because it involves pedagogy. It's critical that we pay explicit attention to teachers' understanding of SEL and their learning needs in much the same way that we might pay attention to a teacher learning to use a new literacy curriculum. We need to make sure that we have time for learning. We have explicit time built into the day for teachers to implement SEL programs, that we've integrated the practices into the life of the school and into our academic instructions, and that we've adequately resourced and phased the implementation of the program to set teachers up for success. I welcome anyone with questions about SEL or school climate improvement to contact me. I'm providing my phone number as well as my Pennsylvania Department of Education email. Please feel free to reach out to me with any question. I look forward to hearing from you.